All right, how is it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we're talking to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Yuval Shalev, who is the CRO of Hunters. Yuval, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, and thank you very much for having me here. I'm very excited. I believe that I'm the first Israeli founder on the podcast. So, greeting from Tel Aviv, and if I'm going to do any mistakes in my English, please excuse my English. That's not my mother tongue, so bear with me.
Yeah, no worries. So far, you are doing it great. And I would love to just kind of dive right into what you're working on at Hunters. Can you tell everyone who doesn't know about it what Hunters is?
Yes, of course. So Hunters is a two-sided freelance marketplace that mainly connects startup with the dream customers. The tool or the method that we are doing that is by using a warm introduction through the networks of freelancers and other individuals, which we call hunters. The name was also selected because we could have used this term as well. Hunters are usually professionals who either work for or sold to the organization that they are connected to. That's the origin of the relationship with the organization. So basically, what Hunters does is actually shorten the path to your startup to the first sale meetings, utilizing, I think, one of the most powerful tools in B2B business, and that's personal referrals and warm introduction.
All right, so let's walk through this because this is pretty much revolutionary because every company needs to spread the word. Every company needs sales. And if you're lowering the barrier to find that talent, that is very powerful. So let's walk through, let's say I'm a CEO of an enterprise company who just needs, we have product market fit and we just want to grow. Is that the type of company that well, actually, let me rephrase. What is the type of company that is the best fit with Hunters? And with that type of company, how would they specifically use it? Would they request, I'm looking for this type of person? Would they kind of put a request out into the ethosphere? How does that work?
Right. So as I mentioned, Hunters is a two-sided marketplace, an online platform. So on the demand side, you have companies. Usually you have startups and mid-sized companies because large corporations probably don't need our services in order to connect with customers. They have tens of thousands of them or hundreds, and so they are well connected, and they have a large sales force as well. So the service is mainly focusing on small startups and mid-sized companies. This is the demand side, and on the supply side, as I mentioned, you have basically anyone who has solid relationship with organization and who is motivated to make the introduction and get paid for it. The platforms allow the demand and the supplies to meet, as you correctly mentioned. From the startup side, the process is very simple. You sign up, you open a profile that is mainly about the company, what you are looking for, what is your market, all the questions that can help us to match the best hunters for you. From the other side, from the hunters, from the freelancer side, anyone can, of course, log in. It's free of charge, can open a profile. And the profile, again, is very straightforward and simple, a little bit about yourself. And then the most important part, of course, is to list the enterprise that you are connected to. What is the nature of the connection? What is the strength of this connection? For how many years you know them, and which department you are connected to. You are not required to put anything personal. You are not required to upload your contact list. That's not what we are looking for. We are looking for at the level of the department. So, for example, I'm connected to the CISO department, I'm connected to the finance department, and so forth. That's good enough for us because we are not aiming to make a personal connection to any specific individual in the organization. And then, of course, the startup can start and look according to different criteria that they have, banking, healthcare, whatever, in New York, in California. I would like to be connected to companies up to 5,000 employees. I would like to connect to, you can set up the criteria. That's one way to search. And the other way, of course, is just to mention, I want to meet Citibank in New York and I want to meet someone from the engineering department. And then, the platform gives you the results. You get a list of potential hunters. You can see their profile. You can see how they are connected and with whom they are connected. And then you can, decide with which one you want to work. Based on his scoring, based on feedback that he has from previous companies that work with him, and of course, based on the background that he mentioned with this specific organization. Once you have selected the hunter that looks most fit to what you are looking for, the next step is just to bring the hunter and the startup on a call. We call it the overview call, and this is the time and place when they get to know each other. The hunter wants to hear about the company, the product, and the company, of course, wants to understand better who is that hunter and how we can help them. But if everything works fine and both sides are happy, the only thing that left is to decide who is the actually qualified contact. We will be interested to meet head of engineering in Citibank in New York area. That's a qualified contact, and if the hunter can arrange such a meeting, then the service was delivered. Just to emphasize, the warm introduction is not the deliverable. The deliverable is the actual meeting between the startup and the qualified contact. And that's it, basically.
So just to make sure I understand it, that the whole process is, as I said, I think is very smart and very intelligent for the market. But at the very, very end, ultimately the farthest the relationship goes with the hunter is getting a meeting with the person that the hunter knows. And then that hunter just goes out and tries to find another meeting. It's not like the hunter joins the company internally or is consulting. It's very transactional, and that like, here's a meeting, great, I did my job.
Yeah, so the answer is yes and no. The service, because we myself and Noam coming from 15, 20 years of experience in sales, in B2B sales, we exactly know what are the frictions, and it was very clear to us that we want to start with a very objective and simple task that we can measure, and we can actually deliver in a quick time and make both sides happy with the results. Having said that, of course, what we see in reality is that a startup, let's say from Israel, is looking for banks in New York, and then we match them with a hunter who is 10, 15 years a sales guy for the banking industries, and he connect them with Citibank and then Bank of America, and then the startup stop and say, whoa, that's amazing. Why shouldn't we take this guy and get his help with the entire sales cycle? And that's happened naturally. Right now, we are not, it is outside of the scope of the platform. We are happy to see that companies and hunter are engage in such a way, because that's only, that's another added value that we can show. I can only assume that in the future we will find a way also to, to put it inside the platform, to govern it in a much better and provision it in a much better way. But definitely that's happened.
So something I've seen in the industry is a lot of companies, that are similar in this space, but don't go up to the meeting. They just go up to, here is someone that's qualified. Do whatever you want with them. And my experience with these companies is, not the best. So I'm kind of curious, what made you decide to go potentially down the potentially harder route of going all the way up to the introduction? And why did you not just stop at all the way up to the meeting? And why did you not stop at the introduction or the name? How did you make that product decision?
Yeah, very simple. Just plain experience that we both have. We have been there. We have got contacts from friends of friends, from people on LinkedIn, from finders that gave us the name in return to some kind of a compensation. We have done everything. And the number of times that you actually manage to meet this prospect, the statistics are not very good, because at the end of the day, people are busy, people are engaged in so many tasks daily, and they need someone to take control. They need someone to organize and make sure that this meeting happen. And that's it. It's a plain, simple experience.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'd love to hear about a little bit of the vision moving forward. You have quite a company on your hands. What does the next 10 years look like for you and beyond?
Yes. So the vision that that we have in mind goes way beyond the actual introduction or arranging the meeting. That's a tool. That's a very powerful tool in order to build a community, in order to build both sides of the market. But at the end of the day, as sales guys for many years, one of the things that we always missed is a one-stop shop for everything, for our go-to-market needs. Especially when you work for smaller companies, if you work for Cisco, F5, or IBM, then you probably have a huge marketing and sales and, so much administrative help and other back offices help that you can get. But for smaller companies, you don't have this privilege. And what we always missed is a one-stop shop where you can get everything that you need in order to go to market successfully. So this is actually the leads, which we are replacing by, offering the meeting themselves. We're not offering leads. We are offering you a short path to the meeting itself, actually bypassing the whole marketing path of generating the leads. That's one thing. Another thing that, we just discussed about it, on top of making the introduction, you are going to meet very talented freelancer, independent sales guys that are on the platform. You can hire any of them if they prove, the proof is in the pudding, right? I can arrange you 10 meetings with 10 banks in America. You are probably good enough for what I need right now. Let's do something. Let's give you the power to represent us. Let's use you as a channel or as an agent. And that's another thing that, it's very challenging today to find, suitable agents, suitable freelancers, independent sales rep, with the platform and with the ability to score and record everything. Over time, we'll be able to provide you a very objective scoring mechanism, so you can actually make an educated selection of the freelancer that you work with, and you don't have to depend on a friend of a friend reference that say, well, that's a great guy. And I think that the next evolution will be to actually utilize the data that we are going to have on the platform. We are going to have a very unique layer of data which doesn't exist today, because there is no professional network or social network that actually store your relationship, right? On LinkedIn, you open a profile and you build your profile as a CV, where you work and for how many years, but it doesn't tell you if you were an HP sales guy in New York, with whom you are connected, to which account you have sold, or all this information is not available today. And that's exactly the type of information that we have to have in order to generate and deliver these meetings. And this layer is very interesting in terms of sales intelligence, in terms of heat maps. Imagine a startup that is, thinking about or considering, the go-to-market strategy. Is it the US? Is it Asia? And we can provide them, a very good and solid insight about where companies of their type are actually active today, where customers that looking for similar solution are open to meet. And that can, steer their decision in terms of territory, in terms of geography, in terms of industry even, just by utilizing, the information that we are going to have on the system. And that's very interesting part for us, at least, very exciting part of what we are going to do.
You're pretty much every startups and mid-sized company's dream, and the vision that you're painting is gonna be awesome. And as someone in startup land and likes building companies, I probably will be a customer in the future as well. So that's fantastic. Something I want to shift to a little bit is going a little bit away from hunters and into just the general realm of distribution, of sales, of taking your product and convincing someone else to part with their money to use that product. I'll start with just a very high level question, and then we can drill down from there. But in your experience, growing companies, growing sales orgs, let's just start with high level thoughts on what it takes to build a kind of powerful and effective sales organization. And how to be efficient when selling a product and build a distribution arm that's powerful.
Yeah, that's $1 million question, part of the answer, after working in so many startups and then bigger corporates, it's really depend on the type of industry and obviously on the culture of the company, where and when you should start building your sales organization. One of the lessons that I've learned is that first of all, sales is the foundation of the success. Sales is actually the revenue generating engine in the company. And obviously it's an expensive, part of the company. And you better get the best talented that you can get on the market. But again, that's a very expensive effort, and therefore you should start doing that in the right timing. And the right timing is usually when you are confident enough that you have a real product or a mature enough product to offer to your potential customers. Putting the cart before the horse here will have a devastating effect in terms of budget, in terms of frustration and disappointment. And if the sales guys are not happy, and if the sales campaign is not successful, that's very quickly drilling into other departments in the company. Engineering starting to hear stuff that, the product is not going, there's some kind of effect to that you should definitely avoid in startups. So I think that, choosing the right timing to start building the organization is very critical. Sometimes you get lots of pressure from your board, from the investors. You're hearing stuff like, take the money that we gave you, grow fast, bring some sales guys, start hitting the market, start bringing us results. And, you have to live under this pressure knowing, and you as the founder, that now it's not the right time and you better push back your investors and your board and wait for the right timing to actually meet the market. That's my first insight about, building something successful, which is related to sales. Um, Maybe the second thing that I'm always, trying to keep in my focus is the sales culture in terms of, what is a successful sales team in terms of, what culture do you want to have inside the team. And for me, with sales guys, it was always the emotional connection to the company, to the product. Sales are world warriors. They travel a lot. They are spending 50, 60, 70% out of the time out of the office. They are not fully engaged with the culture, with the people in the company. Um, and to some extent, they're emotionally remote. They are very focused on doing a single task. And that's perfect. They should be focused on that specific task, and that's selling. But as a sales leader, as a manager, you should always keep in mind that people function better, much, much better, when they are emotionally engaged, where they are connected to the company, where they feel that the product is, they know the product very well, they appreciate the product. They can sell anything, but there is a huge difference in sell where you actually fully engage and believe in the company and the product, and a sell where you are 70% engaged and committed. And I seen both. I seen people fighting for, to win the account and to win the deal, under unbelievable, condition and very tough competition, everything, and they still can do it. And they can do it, I think, because of the emotional part, because of the commitment to the people, to the product, and so forth.
So I want to dive into that first point a little bit, mainly because I've had personal experience and pain with hiring a sales team too early. So let's talk about that moment when it's the right time, and it's obviously not binary. It's kind of a feeling with data. But how, let's say I'm just going to paint you my situation from a year ago. I was the single year salesperson for my company, scaled it up to $25,000 a monthly recurring revenue, and got it to a point where we were like trying to raise some money. But the sales were 100% reliant on me. I've never trailed a salesperson before in my life. And I think that there are a lot of companies in this position where the original founder, they scale it, then they got to multiply themselves. And I did it wrong. I mistimed it, and it didn't work out super well. I'm kind of curious, when do you think is the perfect time? Or maybe a better question is, how should founders think about when to pull the trigger on hiring that first salesperson? And it's not too early, but it's not too late as well.
Right. First of all, I think that founders, and I completely aware that, the majority of founders, and we talked a little bit about that before, are not coming from the domain of sales and business development, and they're technical, and some of them even doesn't feel very comfortable to sit in front of the customers and whatever. But I think that in order to do your job and function properly as a founder, you must meet the market earliest as possible. One of your duties as a founder is to start the first sale processes, to be part of them, to take your concept or your alpha or your beta or whatever you have to potential customer, get the feedback, feel the market, understand your ecosystem, understand your competition and the alternatives that these customers have for your product or solution. That's a must. Then it's also going to give you some sense of the timing. When you start to hear customer talking with you about pilots and about potential cooperations, and and you are confident with the product that it can handle a pilot or some kind of a trial free of charge or whatever condition that you agree with this customer. That's one signal that now it's the time to bring in some professional to the game. They should take it for more accounts, more potential customers. They can enhance and develop the the business model and the negotiation phase of everything. So that's one way that I think founders should find out when is the right time for them to go. The feedback that they get from the market, and they must, again, I'm saying it again and again, but they must collect it personally, not by agents and not by whatever proxies that they have in the market. And I think that in general, there should always be a very open communication with the product and your engineering department. And I think that as a rule of thumb, if you know that the release that you want to bring to the market is going to be available, let's say in the next quarter, something like 3 months in advance, that's the time that I will have the first sales guys on board, not starting the hiring process, on board, something no more, no less than 3 months before I'm actually planning to go to the market with the product. That's a very good time for training, for the learning curve, for building motivation, for building the energies, and wrap it all up, have a nice sales kit in hand, and enough planning, and then release the guy to go to the market and start actually, doing the sales.
So you mentioned there briefly that, well, we mentioned multiple times that the founder or one of the founders should be very intimate with the go-to-market sales process, and you said that they should be creating processes and whatnot, and documenting kind of how it all works. This is kind of, again, personally, this is something that I think I could have done way better when I was working on my company. So I'd love to hear, if you're talking to a first-time founder who's the salesperson, who eventually wants to hire other salespeople, how do you think about putting down processes? Do you have a framework for what to write down? Do you write down everything? How do you build out sales processes?
You refer to the sale processes or the hiring of the?
So what I mean is, from when I was a founder and building this company, I heard from a lot of people, like, document how it works. So when someone comes in, there's a playbook, and they can start using that playbook. I guess what I'm talking about is what are some tips or strategies that you have for creating that playbook, so when someone comes in, they're ready to roll and ready to rock? Ultimately, I guess once you make that first hire, how do you make sure they're set up for success?
Yeah, well, again, that's really depend on the product and the company. If you're talking about a highly technical product, in most cases, even in small startup, you have to couple every sales guys with someone technical enough. It can be a pre-sales guy, sales engineer, or in startup with no real budget for that, even someone from the engineering department who is good, in customer-facing tasks and good in presenting or whatever. Choose the best guy and do that together. The salespersons need to focus here more about understanding the market, about building the right go-to-market plan in terms of identifying who are the best potential for this product. Who in this organization is the right person for the first sales meeting, and who is the decision maker, and build, the plan, build the guidelines around, how we are actually going to go to the market. The technical stuff probably other people will cover. If the product is non-technical and much more easier to sell and to pitch about, then obviously, with the proper training and explanation, definitely in a small startup where the founder themselves usually do this training, so you're probably covered. But I think that the first thing to do is actually do the homework and do the planning and build a go-to-market plan that is built on one hand on the experience that I just mentioned, what the founders have collected when they, validate the market, when they research the market, when they have met the first potential customers. That's one part. And the second part is what the professional sales guys with 20 years of experience bring into this game. And that should give you a complete go-to-market plan in that case.
Yeah, definitely. That's very helpful. So I have one more question for you as the Zoom time is ticking down. I know that starting a company and scaling a company is not easy, and as kind of someone running it, and creating it, it is. You can use all the help you can get. And you got all these people that are listening to this podcast that are able to help, willing to help with whatever you might need. So my question to you is, what is something that the forward-thinking founders community can do to help you with your mission to grow? And how can we help?
First of all, because we are a community of founders, then I can only assume that a large part of the listeners are actually, good potential for being our customers as well. Our vision, our mission is actually to help startup to grow, and we are doing that in a very unique way that never tested before, never done before. So please check us out. Hunters.io is the website. Visit the site, sign up. If you like what we are doing, that's great. We are also always eager to get feedbacks from other founders and young startup in order to make our service better, our offering much better and fit for their needs. So feel free to contact us anytime or visit our New York office. You are welcome. Coffee is on us.
All right, y'all heard it here first. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing your vision for Hunters and your expertise on sales. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very much.